Hello and welcome to, well, what this is. You see my weekly water report looks a bit different than what it usually does. And I have a friend here in my office, John Hopkins.
Hi.
He's been around the block at INTEGRIPURE, and he's quite well informed when it gets to community involvement. Specifically, he was the mastermind behind our documentary that took us from the water from Chelmsford Dam, the abstraction through the purification plant, through abstraction, and all the input and background information and all the research. He sifted through like thousands of pages, and he's done that yet again for a water use license application, a WULA. In my initial water report, when I mentioned the water usage application for the mine, I said, whoa, this looks terrible, and I acted a bit emotionally, I believe, because it's we're quite serious about water and healthy drinking water, and serious about the community. And the second water report, the next week, I said, well, it might not be such a bad thing. It seems like some sort of miracle that the mine wants to help Newcastle. So we'll do some research. And, well, he did some research. So he's gotten me up to speed, and we thought we'd just have a conversation because it's a bit of both. A bit of both.
Yeah, so I think firstly, you weren't mistaken to be concerned, and you weren't mistaken to be excited.
Okay.
It's just you know, look, I think naturally it's good for us to be concerned when we see a water use license application. Because you mentioned this in one of your water reports, that Newcastle simply doesn't have enough water to even meet our current water use license application. Yeah. So when you see a water use license application, it's healthy to be concerned. And yeah, there's some interesting details around this specific water use license application that make it of such a nature that there's some things to be excited about and some things to not be so excited about, you know?
Yeah, to be specific, it's not just one water usage license application. I said from my talking to people in the legal field, there's about 14 different water usage license applications, but you say there are so many more subs below that.
Yeah, well, basically how it works, I can't remember exactly how many sections there are to a water use license application, or how many different types of applications you can put in. There are definitely a whole bunch of them. So you can apply to do different things with the water. That's what that means, right?
Okay.
So I can
not just taking water.
Yeah, I can apply to take water a certain way, or I can apply to take it a different way, or apply to take it a different way.
Okay.
Or I can apply to put stuff in the water, or I can apply to move the water. So that was one of the things that caught our attention, in particular when we first saw this water use license application, was the redirecting of a river. You know, which
one
sounds,
of our water sources.
Yeah, it sounds pretty terrifying, and so we were concerned about that. But that's, for instance, one of those. But now within this water use license application, if I'm going to be doing a certain thing with the water, so if I'm going to apply to abstract water from here and abstract water from there, I need to be explicit that I'm applying to do this twice.
Okay.
So within this application, I can say, okay, I'm applying to abstract water from here and from there, but that's two separate subheadings in the application.
Okay.
And then if I'm going to be doing something to the water and doing something to the water, I need to apply for all of that. So basically that water use application needs to be explicit about exactly every little detail that I'm going to be doing to this water, from top to bottom. And if it's the same thing 5 times, it's listed 5 times in the water use license application. So yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a mouthful, but let's get some background. There was a mine, Ballingie, on the N11 close to Newcastle, and this operated until 1990.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, and then it never officially closed.
Yeah.
Because when they officially close, what has to happen?
They have to rehabilitate.
They have to rehabilitate, and this costs money.
Yeah.
Okay, so they never officially closed, but they stopped operating.
Yeah.
And as I understand it, all of the activity there, rainwater, is seeping into the
shafts.
Into the shafts.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Take us through the timeline, maybe.
Okay,
1990.
so the timeline's quite complicated, but I want to quickly touch on something in particular about the rehabilitation.
Okay.
I know there's a lot of talk in Newcastle about mines, and there's so many mine applications and stuff. And there's a bit of a battle. Some people say it's good for the economy, other people say it's bad for the economy. While I've got an audience, I think one of the biggest fundamental problems with mining in South Africa as a whole is the compliance for rehabilitation. So from my limited research, I see it across the board that mines come in with this amazing proposal. They say we're going to do all this incredible stuff when we finish mining. And then when they get to the end of mining, they just leave this thing in maintenance mode. And it lies dormant for the rest of time, and no rehabilitation ever gets done. And I truly think that that's something the DWS and whoever else has a finger in the pie needs to relook. There needs to be ways to enforce this better. Now what we're seeing here is an attempt to enforce this.
Yeah.
This water use license application is in some ways an attempt to enforce rehabilitation. So 1990, the mine stopped operating in an official capacity, but never ever got a certificate of closure, which means they never had to rehabilitate.
Okay.
So they stayed just there, maintenance mode. I don't know exactly how that looks for that mine. That's been like that now for 36 years.
Frustrating.
Very frustrating. In 2013, I believe, the DWS came and did an audit of the site and found
23 years later, after they closed.
Yeah.
23.
Well, I might be mistaken that the audit might have happened sooner. Okay. There's so many dates to remember from that water use license application and the history. So it might have happened sooner that they had started investigating and started seeing. But in 2023, it came to a head where the DWS finally said, this place needs to be rehabilitated. They sent out a directive to the owners of the land, and they said you absolutely have to rehabilitate because contamination is now no longer a possibility. It's actively happening.
Okay, so how long it has been happening? There's contamination, meaning mine impurities seeping into our town's raw water resource.
Absolutely. I've got, in fact, let me read some of the details for you so that we know what we're talking about when we say contamination, right? So we've got 1,000 cubic meters of water per day decanting into the Horn and Ingagon river systems. This is currently happening. Okay, this isn't, according to the DWS and according to the water use license application.
They're not applying to be able to do this. It is currently happening. Okay, so 1,000 liters is one of those cube things you see on the back of a bakkie. There's 1,000 of them flowing into the river a day.
I don't know, 1,000 cubic meters though. That's what I know.
Yeah.
If you say that's right, then that's right.
That's right.
Every day with a pH of less than 4.5, which
is aggressive water.
Very aggressive water. SO4 levels of greater than 4,000 milligrams per liter. Iron levels of 189 milligrams per liter. Manganese figures of 4 milligrams per liter.
Yeah, iron and manganese always go together, yeah.
And then they say there's also sodium and calcium. That's also decanting into those rivers. So this is active contamination. This isn't a hypothetical. Yeah. This is what they found to be true, and this is why the directive was given in 2013.
13 years ago.
You must rehabilitate, because Newcastle, downriver from here, is abstracting water from the Ingagon River, treating it in the treatment plant, and feeding it off to the community.
Let's be open. The treatment plant from our documentary is not set up for this water.
Yeah.
It's not.
It certainly isn't. The saving grace, of course, to be explicit, Ngugane River is our sort of third primary source of water.
Mtsungwayo, then Buffalo River, because they are gravity feed.
Exactly.
Ngugane, they have a pump.
Ngugane, they've got a pump, so they try not to use it at all costs.
Fair enough.
So it's supplementary. The SANS 241 readings we've been taking for the last 30 years are accurate. The water has been meeting SANS 241. SANS 241, to my knowledge, doesn't necessarily test for all of these contaminants. I'm not too sure.
It says for the pH it must be above 5, of which it is. The iron and manganese is there. Calcium and magnesium doesn't have a cap, but it does contribute to that calcification on your infrastructure. Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't change much about the water you've been drinking, because you've been drinking it, right? It changes how informed you are about what you've been drinking, but that's about it for now. But this contamination is happening anyways. 2013, they give the directive. You have to solve this problem. A couple of years later, 2017, I think, or 2015.
Yeah, 2 years, you said.
Yeah, so 2015, 2016, somewhere around there. A company applies for a water use license application to begin rehabilitating. Their primary approach at the time, some fancy big words, but what it turns out to be is they were going to plant a massive eucalyptus tree plantation somewhere on the verge of these rivers. But the DWS wasn't happy with this because they were concerned that this plantation was going to use too much water. So for all intents and purposes, the DWS declined this water use license application that was submitted 2015, 2016, somewhere around there. They declined it or rejected the application in 2019.
You said that earlier, and I have this Zootopia image in my mind of this this sloth sitting behind the computer and the click. What?
Yeah.
4 or 5 years. Okay, 6 years.
So yeah, a couple of years later, the DWS says, no, we don't like this idea. You can't get this right to use the water the way you want to use the water. Go back to the drawing board, figure it out again. 2023.
Yeah.
The DWS contacts now, definitely by this point, Kangra Coal, who's now the owners of the property.
They acquire the land somewhere in between.
I'm not too sure where exactly, but somewhere in this whole process from 1990 till 2023, Kangra Coal acquired the land.
Very large company.
I don't know.
I've heard about that. Yeah.
I know, though, that in 2023, the DWS contacted Kangra Coal directly and said, we're a little bit concerned that we rejected your previous proposal in 2019 and it's 2023 now and you still haven't done anything. So we're putting in another directive with the expectation of you to expedite your water use license application. Expedite meaning speed it up, make it snappy, let's do this and get it done.
For what's happening has to be on paper.
Has to be on paper. Well, we'll get there in a second. So DWS gave Kangra Coal 3 months to expedite a water use license application in 2023. We're now seeing that water use license application come to fruition.
3 years.
3 years later. So this is an incredibly lengthy process that we're talking about here. This notice that we all saw, water use license application, judging by how slowly things are moving, it's only going to become important in a couple of years' time.
But we have to make the decisions now.
The decisions have to be made now.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, Kangra Coal does have a commercial interest in this, which we'll talk about a bit later. And so things might now start speeding up somewhat. But you mentioned just now, you touched on the fact that this water use license application in 2023, part of what the DWS was saying is when they came back to evaluate the property again, they found that Kangra Coal had begun to rehabilitate.
begun to work, do stuff
they've
on the...
begun to do things. But the DWS was like, hang on, some of the things you're doing requires a water use license, and you don't have an active water use license. That's why we want you to expedite.
According to the documents, we're not making any accusations.
Yeah, and this is just my interpretation of the documents as well. I mean, and I'm just a dude, so it is what it is. But from what I understand, they basically said some of the things you're wanting to do or are doing require water use license application. So we're giving you the directive then to expedite it. Let's make it happen. You already are wanting to rehabilitate the land. Let's get you the right water use licenses. So this is now the water use license application we're seeing. We're seeing an application come through to fulfill duties that should have been done in 1990 when it closed, that weren't fulfilled for at least another 23 years when the DWS put in a final directive that you have to rehabilitate. And then somewhere between then and now, some rehabilitation has happened. It has taken place. But we're now at what I understand to be the second attempt at getting the actual correct compliance to do what needs to be done on that property in order to rehabilitate it. So that's the timeline that you asked about.
Okay. So part of this water usage license applications, as we say, they wanted to reroute the Ngogane River, but what does that mean? You talked about berms.
Yeah. So it's a great question because redirecting the water it's not as scary as what it sounds.
That gave me a fright.
So they're not actually aiming to redirect any of the rivers. Interestingly enough, the Horn River was redirected years ago by mining operations.
Never knew.
So there have been talks of rerouting it back to its original position. I believe that was in the first water use license application, and I'm not too sure if that has persisted into the current water use license application. I don't get that impression. I get the impression that they're happy the water's going to flow where it's going to flow. But what they do need to do is, on the 100-year flood line of the Ngogane and Horn River, they have what they call PCDs, pollution control dams. And there's a bunch of acid mine drainage, AMD, all the fancy terminologies they use. And when the rivers flood,
then they
join with the dams,
and
which is
pushes the water down.
Very not good. So what they're planning now with this rehabilitation is basically constructing berms alongside the rivers on the direction, on the side of the mining operations. And what that basically does is makes that the flood line now is limited to the berm. So 100-year flood line, I mean, obviously if Noah's flood happens again, but the 100-year flood line is now limited by the berm, which means they are redirecting water, but what they're redirecting is the flood line. They're redirecting flood water, not the actual river. Now, to be clear, that has geographical impact. I don't know I'm not clever enough to know what. I don't know what that does to the floodlines down the river, but for the communities down the line.
The water. Well, the people they're applying to probably know.
Hopefully they know. So that's one of the unknowns for me is I don't know what the impact of those berms is going to have in a flood case. If there's anybody watching this video who does know, please get in touch with me. I'd love to know. Or get in touch with Carel and INTEGRIPURE.
I'd
love to know what the impact might be down the line. But that's the rerouting of water they're talking about, which is a good thing. Because we're keeping the water that we drink, potentially, away from the pollution control dam and the acid mine drainage. And there's another dump where they've got a sediment dump that is also within this 100-year flood pan.
So part of the water usage license application, that's a freaking long word.
It is. WULA.
The WULA. They have the redirection, which is just the berms, but then they have applications to use water on site, not for abstraction, But is that part of the application, to be able to use whatever water they have there to do what they have to do? Or?
My understanding is they are not applying to use the water in any sense. They have to apply to use the water in the sense of they're going to be working by it, which means they've got to move it while they work, etc. and so forth. So, for instance, they're going to be also renovating their PCDs and all these control dams and the dump and the shafts and stuff to be more compliant, which is a good thing. They're rehabilitating towards compliance. And all these actions are going to require them to move water and to be around the water and to affect the water as they're rehabilitating. And so they're applying for that purpose. There's a separate part to this, which we'll talk about just now, with separate applications within the application. For now, we're just talking rehabilitation.
So rehabilitation, good thing, because
absolutely good
currently
thing.
We are contaminating Newcastle's drinking water. I don't know who's down the line from the Kangra River that flows into the Buffalo. Eventually, if I'm not mistaken, it flows into the Buffalo. Whoever's down the river there, they
getting
are
the same contamination.
If that's their main source, they are getting that contamination, probably just a bit diluted. But nonetheless, it's a problem, and it's the mine's problem because they're contaminating.
Absolutely.
So rehabilitation, fantastic. We want to stop this from happening.
As far as we're concerned, the rehabilitation gets a 10 out of 10 from us. Unless there's something we don't know about.
We don't know about. We can almost delve into that because part of the rehabilitation, they said, okay, let's put some topsoil on it and let vegetation grow. That's first prize. It's in the report. We want to do this, and this is going to be lovely. You'll see a nice, beautiful mountain. But unfortunately, we can't do that because there's no topsoil to put on. So we'll settle for reworking through this. And making money off of the coal, which is actually there. So it's interesting they word it that way. And I'm fine if they use that coal to clean out and make money off of it. That's for me, it sounds like a win-win still for the Newcastle community, for in industry and for the mine.
Well, let's talk then a bit about the commercial impact of this water use license application.
It goes further than this,
because there's a commercial impact here. So on the one hand, they're applying to rehabilitate. That's fantastic. On the other hand, they're applying to commence new operations on the property, which is the thing we were unsure. So we now know from doing a bit more of an in-depth study on the water use license application, they are certainly going to commence new commercial operations on the property, which does include reworking the stockpile.
But not limited to.
The pre-existing stockpile, but by far and large not limited to reworking that stockpile. So what they plan on doing is they plan on turning this property into a coal storage facility, which also has the task of screening coal and crushing coal.
And cleaning.
And cleaning, not necessarily cleaning. They will be using water trucked on to the property. We'll talk about that in a moment. To definitely do a bit of rinsing and try and control some of the dust.
Because they have a wash bay.
They have a wash bay, for sure.
What they're going to be doing there,
they have not said explicitly that they will be doing coal cleaning. That's not explicit, but it's implicit. I don't know the industry well enough. People who know the industry might be like, bro, they're going to clean coal. What do you think they're going to do? Well, I don't know the industry. I don't know the industry, but it doesn't explicitly say it. But they are building a wash bay. They do say they're going to wash it with water trucked onto the property and stored in JoJo tanks. So they're not abstracting from the rivers. But this operation, the way it looks, is they're going to store they're going to have a storage space that's capable of storing 95,000 tons of coal a month, which works out to 1.1 million tons a year.
Okay.
They're going to store it, screen it, and crush it, and then transport it away. So it's a storage facility, but there's a whole lot going on.
Yeah.
The transporting
it seems like an easy way to apply. Okay, we're just going to be storing it here.
Yeah.
But we're going to be doing this little stuff while we store
Yeah.
it. But anyway, we don't know the industry.
I don't know the industry well enough. So once they've finished processing the coal, they're going to be transporting it to Carbochem. It seems like it, to the Carbochem facility.
There is some movement there. I've seen the municipality being very excited about stuff there.
Yeah.
Especially before the elections. Wink, wink. But anyway, nonetheless, we like stuff happening. We're not against stuff happening.
Yeah, so it does seem to me like there's a bit of a relationship between what's happening in the Carbochem space and what's happening in this Balangui space.
Because we knew there was some sort of, they're not going to just spend money because they like us. We don't think so.
For sure.
Anyway.
So we were unsure of like, why are they doing the rehabilitation now? And the timeline screams the same story, because it's like, guys, you've been battling with this for 30 years, but especially with the DWS since 2013. They've been nagging you. They gave you permission to expedite the application. You didn't take it. Now suddenly 3 years later there's an application on the table.
Yeah.
We weren't too sure what's going on, and we knew there would probably be more to the story. Turns out there definitely is.
Yeah.
They're definitely aiming for commercial benefit. Now, to be fair, this is what you're saying is, why would they spend what appears to be a very costly exercise to rehabilitate this land if they weren't going to make money off of it?
Which is fair. They're allowed to make money.
They're allowed to make money, and we want the rehabilitation to take place. The DWS wants the rehabilitation to take place. The money has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
After 30 years, it would be somewhat illogical to just be like, you mind here, you must have money now. Well, 30 years later, that money's gone.
Yeah.
They need to now find money. Sure, it's not our problem. It is still their problem, but this is their solution to the problem. Their solution is, here's a commercial opportunity. We can use this site, not for mining, but for storing coal, etc. and so forth. I think it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's good for the viewers to know that this is going
informed,
on. With the scale of the coal storage and stuff, we sat and did the calculations just now. I think you calculated there would be something like 14 interlink trucks per hour.
Per hour, yeah.
Up and down the N11 from Balangui to Carbochem.
Yeah, on that past that robot way to the airport.
Yeah. So it's a short trip, but it's a lot of trucks.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of coal that's going to be carted up and down.
Maybe not a problem, but it's still something to be mindful of.
Yeah. Yeah, we just want
to
make sure we put out there what we seem to know, or what we understand about this whole thing. So now here's the problem, though, is that in the application for commencing a new operation on this premises comes some additional applications for water use license. And these additional applications raise some new concerns, because within the new applications, they seem to be wanting to discharge effluent back into the water.
Okay, so they want to rehabilitate, stop the discharge into the water, and apply then to discharge
into the water.
Now,
again, I don't know the industry.
But reworked water.
Yeah,
it's treated
I don't know
water,
the industry well enough, and I don't understand their processes incredibly well. And so this is a big unknown for me. I don't know if all the rehabilitation that they're going to be doing is going to also just improve their operations in terms of the impact on the hydrology, right?
So it might not just be because they're nice to us. It might be just part of the whole...
Yeah, for sure.
We want to have this working
So they need to make sure that they're operating compliantly, and all the rehabilitation is potentially just getting them compliant to do operations. In which case that isn't necessarily bad, because then at least we know that their operations are compliant, which is not a terribly bad thing. Because what we have discovered, I did a talk for SSPN not so long ago here in Lennoxton on the wastewater system in Newcastle and stuff. And one of the things I emphatically found across the board from the green drop reports and everything is that more than anything, South Africa has a compliance problem.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we've actually got all the laws in place and we've got all the right things in place. And if everybody just did what they were supposed to do, South Africa would be singing Kumbaya around the campfire. But nobody's compliant.
And nobody's doing anything about it.
There's no way to enforce compliance. There's countless mines across the country who have gone into mining with the view of being compliant, and years later have been shown that they are not operating within compliance.
So what if it's cheaper to pay a penalty than to go compliant?
I mean, that might be the case, you know.
No, but anyway.
Who knows? The thing is, I think in this country we know for a fact that corruption is rife. And so in order to operate outside of compliance isn't difficult. It's not a difficult country to operate outside.
Unfortunately, I have to agree. But let's talk about what we can do.
Okay, fine. Well, so I think the thing for me is looking at these two different angles of this water use license application: the rehabilitation side of it and the operations side of it. For me, I'm like, if we don't get this rehabilitation done now, we're in trouble. We're already in trouble.
We're already in trouble. We cannot get out of the trouble.
Yeah, so it's been 30 years. I now read it in black and white, and I now know what's going on.
Yeah.
I've always wondered, and now I know. And now I'm like, this needs to be solved.
Yeah. Because it's 30 years, but 13 years we're waiting for something to happen, but it's just not happening.
Absolutely.
It seems like now something might be happening because there's a gain on top of it.
There's some profit there.
Okay.
So I think Newcastle can't afford to object this water use license application. As a whole.
Yeah.
If we object it, we enter into another 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, who knows how long, of contaminating the Horn River and the Ngogone River. It's currently happening as we speak, right now, today. But I don't know how the DWS will respond if we, for instance, say, we approve rehabilitation, we've got concerns about operation.
Yeah. We want to have long understanding talks with people that know what's happening and the affected people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because the operations, to give you an idea, the rehabilitation process, if I understand the documentation correctly, is scheduled to take about 2 years. So they're going to rehabilitate, they're going to be building infrastructure, they're going to be reclaiming the stockpile and processing it and trucking it off to Carbochem and selling it for profit. 2 years.
All of that, we have not much to say about that. We did mention the trucks and we did mention the work, but all we're concerned about is the water.
Yeah.
To be honest. Just straight.
So in 2 years' time, rehabilitation would have taken place. Our water will be better. Massive win. Major win. The water use license application is a 20-year water use license application.
Okay.
Because they want to operate in this capacity of a stockpile and a crusher and a screening facility for 15 years. And then for the last 5 years, they need the water use license application for monitoring to make sure that all the rehabilitation they did 12, 13 years ago is still compliant.
And hopefully they do it, if everything happens.
I don't know.
But maybe we can check the track record.
There would
the
be
fly-by-nights,
value in that.
Everybody has something to say about them, and I get it. But we'll check the track record so we can include that in our discussions.
Yeah, for sure. I think that would be super valuable. Like you say, if it's a big company and they've got a track record, that gets introduced into the conversation for sure. So my opinion on this matter is that we as a community need to be pushing for an approval on this water use license application, but a conditional approval.
Yeah.
We approve without constraint the rehabilitation.
Yeah.
maybe one flag worth noting, what is the downstream impacts of the berm in a flood
and
scenario?
if you have anything else to add, tell us, but that's all we can think about.
But major conditions regarding the operations.
Yeah.
They acknowledge that there will be dust, coal dust.
They have the wind reports and everything on this document.
Got the wind reports, it's all there. They acknowledge that this isn't going to be a nice, clean energy. It's going to be messy. They are applying to discharge contaminants into water sources. I don't know.
Newcastle's drinking water sources.
Yeah, I don't know to what capacity and what extent. They are building a pollution control dam specifically for operations. So the water will obviously go into there. It'll be managed and stuff and then discharged, but they're applying to discharge nonetheless. So there's questions about the operations that we need to tread through with Kangra Coal and the DWS before we are willing to approve that side of the equation. Yeah. Maybe we are willing to approve it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's good for us. Maybe we get all the information. We're like, yes, you know what? The ecological impact is minimal and there's an economic impact that's large. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. But there's still too many unanswered questions for me about the long-term impacts, because we're now talking 15, 20 years of impact of operations. All fine and noble to do rehabilitation to try and solve a problem that's 30 years old. I'm not giving you brownie points for that. 0 brownie points. I expect you to do it.
Yeah.
Get it done. It's your problem. You created it.
Operations, well, you bought it, but you bought it.
Yeah,
it's yours.
Exactly. Operations, we've got a voice, and our voices for now, we need to know a lot more information.
Because the only reason we're sitting here with this problem is because of operations
100%.
That stopped 30 years ago.
100%.
That's the only reason we're sitting with this problem, and so we have to know. I cannot remember how many applications there are for the rehabilitation, but I have there is 23 different applications for the operation side. Did I understand that correctly?
Well, that was 23, or I can't remember, was it 23 or 26, specifically for, let me tell you, because when you hear the wording, it sounds very dramatic. You know? It's like, oh, wow, that's hectic. Yeah. So it's for disposing of waste in a manner which may detrimentally impact on a water resource. We've got 23 or 26 or something like that, separate subheadings or sub-applications within this application to dispose of waste in a manner which may detrimentally impact on a water resource. And that's for operations, not for rehabilitation.
So we have to know what these detrimental impacts are and how that's going to be contained and what's going to happen if they are not compliant, and what's the track record of them saying, okay, no, we'll handle it as it comes.
Yeah. If I may, Carel, I don't know if you would allow me to use this platform to maybe give people a bit of information as to how they can assist.
If it helps the community, I'm all for it.
So if you are interested in participating in this process, you can register as an interested and affected party, an IAP. There's an email address on the water use license application notice. All this information is there. If you go find it, perhaps we'll make it available somewhere. There's an email address. You can send an email to register as an interested and affected party. Importantly, though, we are standing on the side, and I think Carel and INTEGRIPURE would agree with me on this, that we absolutely approve the rehabilitation. And so we want to encourage people who register as interested and affected parties that we explicitly approve the rehabilitation, but not so for the operations. We want to enter into more dialogue about the operations. So for now, we need to object the operations, but with the intent of dialogue. And so if you register as an interested and affected party, add a little bit of an information about that. You approve the rehabilitation, you object against the operations upon further
Pending,
dialogue. Yeah, pending further dialogue with the community. And I think that is the best way we can contribute at the moment towards, hopefully, the end goal, rehabilitation gets done. That for me should be a non-negotiable for our community.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that. We'll try and keep you up to date. Maybe the follow-ups wouldn't be so information heavy as this one was, but we are going to be following the information. We are going to be registering as affected parties, so they have to invite us and keep us up to date with any of the dialogues that will be happening, and any information that comes. We have to be part of it because we are affected parties, and we will try and keep you as up to date as we can, and maybe just say, okay, thank you for assisting us, or maybe let's try this next and let's do this. But in informed communities and empowered community, we say it on the weekly water reports constantly, and this is just once again one of those things where we want to be informed. We love Newcastle, we love the people. We are not saying yes to coal mines, we're not saying no to coal mines, we're not saying yes to industry growth or no to industry growth. We're standing on yes to healthy, safe drinking water being accessible to everybody, and on that hill we'll die. We'll try and keep everything to understand that we do care about the industry, but let the people that know that work on that, and we'll talk about what we know about.
Yeah, and I think with that, a last encouragement from my side is, if there are any people who are involved in activist groups and are interested in opposing this water use license application, we put in a humble request that you wouldn't oppose it in its entirety, that you would stand with us for the rehabilitation of that land and to protect our water resources.
Amen. Thank you, John.
Huge pleasure, Carel. Thank you.
That was our weekly, very long water report. We'll take the place of our normal weekly water report, where we discuss anything and everything regarding Newcastle's water quality, water reticulation and air quality. We'll be back next week with that. But for now, Newcastle, stay safe and keep your eyes open for the next steps that you can take to help keep Newcastle safe.